Good afternoon, Badass Artists. I'm Yellow Yando. Today we are going to start a new project. We're going to try some markers and we might work with some more paint on this one. But this is our book Luna, and it'll probably be the last project we work with in this book for a minute. This weekend we'll have our new book entitled Noel, and it's got some neat little snow adventures and Christmas poinsettia elves and such. So we will be working in that one starting this weekend and next week. So I thought, I've got my swatch book. I thought we would use some markers with this. Let me see. I was thinking we would go with the lighter colors, because sometimes grayscale will capture the markers a couple of shades darker. That's something to keep in mind. I'm working on a grayscale swatch, like a thing to put in the back of your coloring books so that you can color on it and know exactly what it's going to look like before you use it in your books. So hopefully I can get something like that installed in the back here in the next book or two. But I thought we would try number 314 and 315. I'm going to put some cardboard in the back so we don't bleed through to the image behind. Now the thing about markers is they streak, and finding a brand that doesn't is kind of the trick. I think Copic is probably the best on the market, and Ohuhu is good, but Ohuhu I've found streaks. Alcohol markers as a rule are less streaky than water-based markers. That's my opinion. Some people will be like, oh no, you're just, it just depends on how you use them. That's just me. I'm not a marker expert by any stretch of the imagination. But I have found that as markers dry, the alcohol ones tend to leave less streaks. I'm also going to zoom us in. We have Fiona the fairy here with us today. She's lending us some good fairy mojo. I'm going to zoom us in so that you can see what I'm talking about. Now I've got the colors here, number 314 and 315. There you go, right there. And I'm going to use the brush end instead of the chisel end. It kind of gives me a little bit more control when I'm rolling through here. Now I'm going to start on her neck just because I want to see how dark this is going to look before I get too invested, no turning back. So I'm going to lay a straight line, and I just kind of keep these vertical lines going. I'm trying to kind of not overlap them, and that's sort of hard to do. You just do the best you can. But that's kind of the trick when you're using non-marker paper, and there's paper out there that's made especially for markers. That's why we don't get the same effects in our coloring books as those professional marker artists out there. These papers are absorbent, and professional marker artists, they're using paper that will pool the ink. It doesn't absorb instantly. It sits, and they have time to mix it together, and they have time to push it around, and that's why it kind of looks different. This paper is absorbent. It's thin. It doesn't have a heavy weight. It's made, to take crayons and pencils and that kind of thing. So it's not too worried about separating ink colors in our markers and paints. So that's why we don't get the same results. But as you can see here, this looks pretty smooth, and we don't have a whole lot of streaking happening. So there's not a lot of detail work going on. I'm not going to zoom in super close. I'm just going to keep doing that, straight line approach, and hopefully we'll get a nice even coat. Now on this particular one, I had kind of like a little, like a streak in it. If you guys get streaks in your books, if you receive them and they're streaky or they're too dark or something, send them back. Amazon will replace that for you. That's a printing issue. That's, you know, that doesn't have anything to do with me. I send Amazon a perfect file, and if they send you something and it's got, you know, streaks in it, this looks like the printer head needed to be changed or cleaned. But if they print it and it's overexposed or underexposed, that's something that didn't get through their quality control process. It slipped through. And they're happy to replace it for you. They'll replace it for free. You don't have to pay for another copy. They'll replace that for you. So I just wanted to let you guys know. I kept this one because I wanted to work on it. I didn't want to wait for another one. I was impatient. I have to wait for my copies just like you guys do. And I'm just sort of laying this down. Don't worry if you do overlap. That's one thing. You can use pencils right over top of this. Now I'm also going to go right over the wings that are laying on her face, the little ones, because they're see-through, and we will add pencil to those to give them the color that we want. But I'm not going to go over the little body. So far, so good on the streaking. I like these markers too. They're very light. And I will put a link to them in the description below. They're not a heavy marker, and I appreciate that. It looks like I'm going to get a little bit of streaking right there, but I wasn't super careful, and that's okay because that's a spot that we can, you know, go in. Let me zoom right there. That's a spot. Well, can I zoom it? Is it going to let me? Yeah. That's a spot we can go in with our, you know, pencils. If it doesn't dry smooth, we can go in with our pencils and smooth that out. Now I'm going to do the forehead. Just take your time. There's no rush. That's the biggest thing. My biggest mistakes have come when I've gotten into a hurry. There's no reason to hurry. We've got all the time we need. more than anything, it's just kind of looking at the paper and plotting your course, knowing where you need to, you know, start making long sweeps with the marker so that you don't overlap yourself. And that's just more about the paper. You know, if we were using a different type, if we were able to use marker paper, then we wouldn't have to go through these lengths of not overlapping the marker. But, you know, that's just where we are. One day I hope that I can get better paper. Hopefully that day will come. Now let's see if we can get this to dry. I guess I probably lost you guys on that for a second. I'm sorry about that. Once I zoom in, that's why I don't zoom in a lot. I always forget to zoom back out. I apologize for that. But it looks like this is the only area that looked a little streaky. But I'm gonna let it sit for a few minutes. Now, in every set of markers, a blender is included, usually. I won't say every one because I don't know that with 100% certainty, but I've never gotten a set of markers that didn't have some kind of blender in it. This is a colorless blender, and I'm going to actually switch it over to the brush side, and I'm going to just kind of go along here and see if I can blend that out, so that since that's just the only spot there that looked streaky, see if we can fix that. We might get lucky. Everything else looks really smooth. And if not, we'll go in with pencils and we'll deepen that up. We'll contour it. But I'm going to take the darker of the two markers, which is number 315, and I'm going to go into her, oh, I don't want the chisel end, I want the brush end. I'm going to go into her cheek area. And I'm just kind of touching along here to give her a deeper color. I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm also going to add a little darker shadow around her nose, under her lip, and right at the crease of her eyes. Strong, so it's kind of making things rattle. I think it's the vent or something. It's making a funny noise, so you guys know I have strange sounds in my house. I'm also going to intensify these shadows in her neck. We'll let that dry. Let me get this on top here. And then we will go in with our pencils. But the thing is, just try some new things. Don't be scared just because, you know, just because markers do get streaky doesn't mean we can't go in and fix them with crayons or pencils or, you know, something else, we absolutely can. So, you know, that's the whole point of the channel, is just to try some new things. So I have over here some Crayola Colors of the World, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'll do better. I'll pay attention and not forget to move around. But I'm going to look for, let's see, I think I'm going to go with the golden. This is light medium golden. And I'm going to just kind of go in here and see how close it is. Pretty close. So I'm going to zoom in again. And I'm going to move you around. I'm just going to go right over where we have darkened that and just blend those two colors right in together. See how seamlessly that goes together? And it gives you this effect that it's already been burnished, and there's just absolutely no hint of any of the paper underneath. There's no paper or tooth, there's nothing. It's just complete color. Very smooth. So it gives you a different effect. And as you're bringing those two colors together, just keep your pencil pressure light. Just go in small circles. That helps you blend other colors more effortlessly into it later. Just small circles. Now I'm going to put this one down, and I'm going to get this one is Deep Almond. I wanted to get something just a little deeper right up here. I'm going to work this color in. See how nice that just goes on, so smooth. And the marker actually changes the texture of the paper. It makes it very smooth and very receptible to the pencil. Now I also like to make the eyes a little bit darker. That's just a style thing. So I'm going to bring this a little darker all the way around. You don't have to do that. But if you're following along at home and you want to follow and copy, absolutely. I'm just taking this darker color all the way around and in the crease of her eye. And then just a little right here at the top of her temple. Most of that wing is covering. I want to add just a little bit more up here. We're just deepening this up. We're giving it some warmth. We're giving her, you know, this slightly toasty complexion. I don't want her to be overly pale. I want her to kind of have like an underglow, almost like a candlelight underglow. Oh, let me move Fiona out of the way so I can push this around a little more. Now I'm just adding this deeper color here. We're going to go in with an even deeper color, but not quite yet. Zoom us back in. And I'm just smoothing these colors together and getting a nice blend. The important thing is just to not to rush the process, just to enjoy it. And if you want to make her darker or lighter, absolutely. You don't even have to use Crayola. You can use Faber-Castells or Black Widow. Any flesh tones will do. And it looks like that little streak from our marker corrected itself fairly well, but I am going to go over this until I feel like it's a little less noticeable. And don't worry if you can see the circles or anything, that's just the first layer going down. You can see mine. It's okay, don't worry about that. That's things that we will straighten out and smooth out. It's not anything to worry about. Now I'm going in with that second darkest color. This is Deep Almond. And I'm gonna go in and just kind of smooth in the darker color as well. Just like we did on the other side. Now that we're not using the markers, I'm going to take this cardboard out from under. It'll be a little softer. Oh yeah. I'm just going to take these darker shades around the eye. Kind of gives her a little more depth, just a touch more realism. As a rule, the more detail you put into your colorings, the more realistic they're going to look. Okay, now I'm going to set these two to the side, and I'm going to pick up this very deep rose. And I'm going to move us back over to this side. And I'm going to add a little bit of color to this cheek. Just very lightly. You don't want to really push on this color. It's very intense. It's a beautiful color, but you don't need a lot. It goes a long way. I use this color for a lot of things, including a redheaded undertone. I really like it. To this side. Actually, let's zoom out for just a few minutes. I'm just giving her some warmth so she doesn't look so frostbitten. Now when we come back next time, we're gonna finish her neck, and we're going to add her eyes and her lips and her hair. And actually we should be able to finish her next time. We've gotten the majority of her face completed today, which was, the majority of the picture. But I think we will use some Neo colors or some watercolors. Let me know in the description below what you'd like to see me work on next with this one. We'll try some new things. But if this has been helpful for you, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope you'll do so. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. If you haven't already joined me over on Facebook at Badass Art, I hope you'll do that. I'll post a link in the description below so you can follow over. Jump in, show me all your badass creations. I would love to see what you are coloring at home. Okay, everybody, I think I will end there today. I am very pleased with how our markers turned out. We only got that one tiny little streak, and that wasn't bad at all. I'm very pleased with that. So we will continue on with our Crayola Colors of the World, and we will probably use some Caran d'Ache Neo colors to work on her wings, and we will finish up her hair. Okay, everybody, I'll see you next time.